On the evening of March 9th, Friday, in 2012, 18-year-old Oksana Makar arrived from the suburb of Mykolaiv, from the village of Luch, formerly a military town called Krasnaya Luch, where a military radar station was located during Soviet times, to the center of Mykolaiv at the Fish Cafe Bar on Dzerzhinsky Street to celebrate International Women's Day. She had been to this cafe several times before, including with her acquaintances. The bartender knew her. According to the bartender, Oksana only had a can of beer and a box of juice. Around 10 p.m., a few young guys entered the cafe, who had also been there before. They took a table near Oksana, and she moved to join them. They treated her to alcohol, after which she became so intoxicated that she had to be helped out of the cafe. Oksana herself and her mother later claimed that she was drugged. The bartender also mentioned that, according to the townspeople's opinions, someone spiked Oksana's drink with a substance that made her unable to resist. Because Oksana was heavily intoxicated, the guys offered to let her sleep at the apartment of their mutual acquaintance Maxim Przayaznyuk, who was a high-ranking official in Mykolaiv. He had been the director of the utility company Teploenergoservice until the end of 2011 and had been unsuccessfully trying to establish a relationship with Oksana for about a year. At the apartment, the girl felt very unwell and fell asleep. The apartment owner and his two guests, Maxim Przayaznyuk, 24 years old, Artem Pogosian, 22 years old, and Yevgeny Krasnishkyak, 23 years old, took advantage of the helpless state of the girl. However, she woke up and started resisting desperately and screaming. Neighbors heard loud cries but did not call the police when one of the criminals, Krasnishkyak, began strangling the girl with his hands. On March 14, 2012, a video of Krasnishkyak's interrogation was uploaded to YouTube, where he confessed and stated that the girl had resisted desperately. She was shouting, waving her hands. She didn't calm down. I decided to suffocate her. Believing that he had finished off the girl, Krasnishkyak still engaged in sexual contact with her, after which he and Pogosian went to inspect the place where they planned to take the body. When they returned, the girl was still breathing. And Krasnishkyak strangled her again, this time with a cord. Then they wrapped the girl in a blanket and a pillowcase, and all three, Krasnishkyak, Pogosian, and Przayaznyuk, carried her to the territory of an abandoned construction site near the clinic. Upon exiting the entrance, Krasnishkyak dropped the body to the ground, but the girl didn't make any sounds. At the construction site, they descended into the basement and threw the body into a pit with garbage, then set the garbage near the girl on fire and left. However, Krasnishkyak returned to retrieve the pillowcase. The girl showed no signs of life. On March 21st, citing leaked information from the police, it was revealed that the attack on Oksana Makar had been premeditated and carefully planned. Specifically, a police source stated that Maxim Przayaznyuk had tried unsuccessfully to establish a relationship with her. He was deeply hurt by her outright rejection, even when he offered her money for spending a night with him. The motive was not yet entirely clear, but it was an established fact that he intended to have a violent encounter with the girl, subjugate her by force, and then kill her. On social media, Przayaznyuk found Krasnishkyak, with whom he coordinated the criminal plan. On the day of the crime, Przayaznyuk stayed home and made sure that as many people as possible saw him in order to establish an alibi. Krasnishkyak and Pogosian escorted the girl to Przayaznyuk's apartment. On the morning of March 10, 2012, Oksana Makar was discovered by a passerby and taken to the Thermal Trauma Center of City Hospital No. 3. She had suffered burns covering about 55% of her body, with a significant portion being 3rd and 4th degree burns, as her mother, Tatyana Surovitskaya, recounted on March 12. Oksana is currently in intensive care. The doctors initially gave her a 2% chance, but now it's down to 0.5%. The doctors said that in their 30 years of practice, they had never seen anything like this. Usually, they said, people die within 2 to 3 hours, and that's with lesser burns. Oksana has 55%, she's my only one. I would give everything for her. All my skin, kidneys, anything, just for her to live. On March 12th, Oksana's right arm was amputated. She was transferred from intensive care to the intensive therapy ward. A filming crew from Russia's first channel offered to fly Oksana to a Moscow clinic for treatment, but her treating doctor, Vladimir Moroz, stated that her condition didn't allow for transportation to either Moscow or Kiev. On March 14th, more than 150 residents of Mykolaiv donated blood for the victim. On March 15th, Oksana Makar was put into a medicated sleep and placed on artificial lung ventilation. From the first day of the incident, Mykolaiv doctors consulted with colleagues from Kiev, including Vladimir Tsygankov, an associate professor. Police posted guards outside the girls' ward. Arriving in Mykolaiv on March 16th, the head of the Donetsk Burn Center, Emil Festel, decided to send Oksana Makar to Donetsk for treatment at the Donetsk Burn Center. On that day, she underwent surgery and was sent to Donetsk. On March 16th, in the Donetsk Burn Center, preparations were made for skin graft surgery on the girl. On March 18th, inflammation of the lungs was detected in Oksana, which had developed due to exposure to cold temperatures. She spent 10 hours outside. On March 19th, after another round of surgical wound treatments, it became apparent that Oksana's condition was extremely critical. On March 22nd, a surgery was performed on Oksana Makar to save her leg. A skin graft was taken from her thigh to cover her exposed hip joint. Dead tissues were removed from Oksana, and gel dressings that simulated human skin were applied in their place. On Thursday, March 29th, she experienced severe pulmonary bleeding, which, combined with her severe body exhaustion, brain edema, and sepsis, led to cardiac arrest. Resuscitation efforts lasted over 40 minutes but were unsuccessful, and at 7:30 a.m., doctors declared Oksana Makar dead. Oksana was buried in a white wedding dress, as is customary for funerals of young girls in Ukraine, and in a white coffin on March 31, 2012, at the Shevchenko Village Cemetery near the monument to the heroes of the Great Patriotic War. During the farewell, a woman in a black shawl addressed Oksana. "Sayashenka, send my regards to my Lena in heaven. Tell her that her mother will never forget her. They used my daughter Lena in the exact same way," she explained through tears, "these monsters. They caught the attackers who targeted Oksana, but they never found the killers of my daughter." Around 500 people attended the funeral, including many teenagers. Buses were organized to transport people from Mykolaiv. The local authorities covered the expenses for the funeral. The mayor of Mykolaiv, Vladimir Chaika, a representative of the regional council, and a deputy governor were present. The governor was absent, possibly due to his earlier conflicts with the protests in support of Oksana during the initial stages of her treatment. The organizers of the funeral were individuals who had organized rallies in support of Oksana, including Yuri Rekrutsalov, the leader of the group Society Against Lawlessness, which was created to support Oksana Makar. At the mother's request, the press was denied any comments during these days, even though filming crews from most of Ukraine's central television channels and one from Russia were present at the funeral. Official condolences were sent by the president of Ukraine, Yanukovych. "I sincerely sympathize with the family and loved ones of the young girl who prematurely lost her life as a result of a heinous crime committed against her." Oksana Makar was born on June 11, 1993, in the village of Luch in the Zhovnivy district of the Mykolaiv Oblast. Oksana's family was never considered prosperous. Oksana's mother, Tatiana Romanovna Surovitskaya, reportedly had 3 criminal convictions, including one for robbery. Oksana's biological father, Sergei Igorevich Makar, from whom Tatiana separated after the child's birth due to his jealousy and alcohol abuse, also had 3 convictions for theft and drug distribution. After parting ways with Oksana's father, Tatiana met a man from the Kherson Oblast and moved with her daughter to live with him. After Tatiana was sentenced to imprisonment in Kherson for robbery, Oksana was taken under the care of her maternal grandparents, who continued to live in Luch. There, Oksana began attending 1st grade. According to the testimonies of former classmates' parents, Oksana used to rummage through her classmates' bags. Once, she stole a wallet from a teacher's bag. Villagers also claim that Oksana was a good and kind girl, although nobody took her upbringing seriously. When she reached the 3rd grade, her grandfather decided to enroll Oksana in the Sharokolanivska Special Educational Boarding School, where she was admitted on May 25, 2003. According to the school staff, Oksana exhibited a mild degree of intellectual disability. She didn't excel academically but participated in artistic activities. While at the boarding school, Oksana attempted to escape several times, but she was always brought back. However, educators point out that, on one hand, Oksana was impulsive and prone to conflict, while on the other hand, she was generous, often sharing candy and apples with others. Upon her mother's release from prison, who had remarried Alexei Surovitsky and taken his surname, Oksana was taken back by her mother. According to the deceased girl's grandmother, after the 6th grade, Oksana neither studied nor worked anywhere. In certain media outlets, there was information that Oksana was making a living through prostitution. However, this was vehemently denied both by Oksana's mother and by several other sources. Additionally, the court proved that Oksana had never been involved in prostitution. Maxim Vladimirovich Przayaznyuk was born on May 12, 1988. He was adopted by the Przayaznyuk family. Ludmila Alexandrovna, 53 years of age, worked as the head of the administration of the Mykolaiv Oblast, was dismissed, and retired in 2010. Her spouse, Vladimir Petrovich Przayaznyuk, 52 years of age, worked as the first deputy chairman of the district council and retired in 2009. Maxim Przayaznyuk was a member of the city of Mykolaiv's district election commission from the United Center Party in the 2010 local elections. He was also a trusted representative of Vitaly Yurovsky, a mayoral candidate for Mykolaiv, from the United Center Party in the 2010 local elections. From 2006 to 2011, Maxim Przayaznyuk studied history and law at the historical faculty of the Mykolaiv Pedagogical Institute. During his time at the institute, his adoptive parents bought him an apartment in Mykolaiv. In court, it was revealed that Przayaznyuk had a relationship with a fellow student from his institute. However, when she became pregnant, he abandoned her. Witnesses claimed that he brought girls to his apartment. In 2011, at the age of 22, Maxim was appointed as the director of the communal enterprise Teplo Electroservice of the Mykolaiv City Council and held this position until the end of 2011. The enterprise was the main supplier of heat and hot water to schools, hospitals, and residential buildings in Mykolaiv. Maxim Przayaznyuk had premeditated and organized the assault and murder of Oksana Makar. On March 10, 2012, a passerby named Oleg Neda, whose car didn't start in the morning, so he decided to walk to work, heard moans at the abandoned construction site near the Central Polyclinic in Mykolaiv and called the police at 8:20 a.m. The police arrived within 4 minutes. 2 young police officers in a VAZ 2107 arrived. They found Oksana in a pit among burnt debris. Within 20 minutes, 4 police cars arrived, but the ambulance took 40 minutes to arrive, even though the emergency station is located right next to the crime scene. The police officers pulled the girl out of the pit. She couldn't get out on her own. She stood up, but immediately fell due to the pain in her burned feet. She was able to speak and named the people who had tried to kill her. According to the doctor's accounts, the girl was brought to the hospital completely naked. The attending physician, Alexander Chebateriov, stated that it takes a long time to lie on hot coals for burns to reach such depth. The girl's mother, Tatiana Surovitskaya, had been living and working in Kiev in recent years. The news of Oksana's critical condition was conveyed to her mother on March 10th at 11 a.m. by Tatiana's older sister, who works as a doctor at the Dzerzhinsky Military Hospital in Mykolaiv. On March 11th at 6 a.m., the mother was in Oksana's ward. The actions of the police in the initial days of the investigation and, in particular, the fact that 2 suspects were released on bail with travel restrictions were widely criticized in Ukrainian media. According to reports, the individuals released on bail were so-called privileged individuals, children of high-ranking officials. Prior to this, there was a widely held belief that they would evade responsibility. It was pointed out that one of the suspects released on bail was the son of the former head of the Donetsk administration, and the other was allegedly the son of a former high-ranking prosecutor. However, the information about the second suspect was subsequently refuted by investigative authorities. In the following days and weeks, the media extensively covered details of Oksana's treatment, crime theories, protests, and subsequently her funeral. The case gained significant attention within Ukraine and beyond its borders. In her interviews, the mother of the victim, Tatiana Surovitskaya, expressed the assumption that her connections in the media helped bring attention to the case. "It helped us that I have close people working in television, and what happened received publicity. People gathered on the streets for protest actions." On March 12th to 13th, addresses of Przyaznyak, Pogosian, and Krasnoshek were posted on many internet forums, as well as the internet addresses of social media profiles of Przyaznyak and Pogosian. On the morning of March 13th, Maxim Przyaznyak deleted his social media profile, while Pogosian's profile indicated that he accessed it on the same day. On March 14th, a support website for Oksana Makar was created on the internet. Numerous groups and communities were established on social media platforms and Facebook to organize rallies. On March 13th, Tatiana Surovitskaya recorded a brief video message, which was uploaded to YouTube on the same day. The mother reported that her daughter was conscious the entire time. However, the prosecutor's office and police did not conduct investigations and no medical examination was carried out. On March 14th, a recording of Krasnoskiak's police interrogation was posted on YouTube. 2 days later, the Minister of Internal Affairs ordered an investigation into the leak of this video. Also on March 14th, Oleg Nida's account of how Oksana Makar was discovered was uploaded to YouTube. On the evening of March 10th, the police arrested 3 rapists who were identified by Oksana, but on the morning of March 11th, 2 of them were released, Przyaznyak and Pogosian, on bail with travel restrictions. On March 12th, information about the crime reached internet forums in Mykolaiv. A lively discussion began, and an initiative group was formed, which spent the entire night from March 12th to 13th making posters and putting up effigies of the criminals. On the morning of March 13th, dozens of people gathered for the first protest near the Central District Police Department building. After that, the picket moved to the prosecutor's office of Mykolaiv Oblast. Another protest took place at Soborna Square. After the burning of the effigies and the media attention, on March 13th, the police again arrested Przyaznyak and Pogosian. They were placed in pretrial detention. On March 15th, the largest rally in support of Oksana Makar took place on the central square of Mykolaiv. The square was filled with people. The press estimated the number of attendees at 2,000 to 9,000. On March 15th, it was reported that on March 10th, an 18-year-old named Alexandra Popova was brought to the Mykolaiv Emergency Medical Hospital, found lying unconscious in a park. According to the chief physician, Alexandra's condition was no better than Oksana Makar's. At the rally on March 15th, in Lenin Square, calls were made to support not only Oksana but also Alexandra. On March 15th, similar protests against lawlessness in support of Oksana also took place in Kiev, Odessa, and Kharkiv. On March 16th, an event was held in Lviv called Beware, Rich People, in support of Oksana, in front of the regional prosecutor's office. Additionally, on March 15th, activists from the Femin movement carried out a topless protest near the building of the General Prosecutor's Office of Ukraine, demanding the harshest punishment for the criminals. The tragedy of Oksana Makar was mentioned by many international news sites, as well as nearly all major media outlets. Due to public outcry, Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych instructed the Attorney General, Viktor Shanka, to ensure a thorough and unbiased investigation into the crime. On March 13th, criminal cases were initiated against the 2 detainees under Part 3 of Article 152 of the Criminal Code, and a criminal case was initiated against the 3rd individual under Part 9 of Article 115 and Part 3 of Article 152. On the same day, the victim Oksana Makar gave her statement to the investigator, and a forensic examination was conducted. According to her mother, Oksana remembered almost everything that happened to her that evening. she recounted that they began to strangle her. At that point, she threatened to report the incident to the police. The crime scene, which was Maxim Przayaznyuk's apartment, was searched only a week after the crime, and it was only then that the investigation obtained its first physical evidence: used condoms. As the medical examination of Oksana's swabs did not reveal any traces of the suspect's secretions, Pogosian claims that he did not engage in sexual intercourse with Oksana. On April 12, Vasily Oleynik, the head of the main directorate of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine, announced that the investigation into the murder of Oksana Makar had been concluded, and the detainees were charged with 2 counts, Part 2 of Article 115 and Part 4 of Article 152 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine, intentional murder committed with particular cruelty, accompanied by outrageous acts, by prior conspiracy of a group of persons. After Oksana Makar's death, reports surfaced in the media that during the 20 days when Oksana was alive after the crime, the prosecution did not conduct an official identification of the suspects as provided by Article 174 of the Criminal Procedure Code. On May 13, 2012, the police took Oksana's mother, Tatiana Surovitskaya, into protective custody due to threats against her. On June 12, 2012, the first court session took place. The indictment states, among other things, all 3 accused, understanding the irreversibility of the situation, when there were signs of strangulation on Oksana's neck and visible bruises on her body, with the intention of concealing the evidence of the crime, pursued the goal of murder by burning the body, which in the end would not allow for the body to be identified. Yevgeny Krasnoskiak and Maxim Przayaznyuk partially admitted their guilt, while Artem Pogosian refused to admit guilt. In early October 2012, the prosecutor of the main directorate for the support of state accusation in court noted that the killers of Oksana Makar deliberately prolonged the trial proceedings. On October 11th, it was announced that the court had completed the investigation into the case of Oksana Makar and set the final arguments for the end of October. On November 27, 2012, the Central District Court of Nikolaev found the accused guilty on all counts and sentenced them as follows: Yevgeny Krasnoskiak to life imprisonment, Maxim Przayaznyuk to 15 years of imprisonment, and Artem Pogosian to 14 years of imprisonment. However, both Oksana's mother, who considers the sentence excessively lenient, believing that both accused should also receive life imprisonment, and one of the convicted individuals, Przayaznyuk, disagree with the verdict. According to his lawyer, his client's actions should be reclassified. In December 2012, they filed appeals against the verdict to the Appellate Court of Nikolaev Oblast. The review of the appeals was scheduled for May 30, 2013. On that day, the Appellate Court of Nikolaev Oblast rejected all appeals, leaving the verdict unchanged. Lawyers on both sides expressed their intention to further appeal the verdict. On August 9, 2013, Oksana's mother submitted a complaint to the Higher Specialized Court of Ukraine for the consideration of civil and criminal cases through her lawyer, challenging the decision of the Appellate Court of Nikolaev Oblast. In the complaint, she requested that Przayaznyuk and Pogosian be sentenced to life imprisonment. In the summer of 2014, the court upheld the sentences for Przayaznyuk and Pogosian without changes. Deputy Chief of the Investigation Department of the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Nikolaev Oblast, Police Colonel Vadim Pavlenko, who released the 2 suspects in violation of regulations immediately after their arrest in the murder case, was dismissed from his position. However, he was reinstated before the trial concluded. According to human rights advocate Yaroslav Deniv, it was loudly announced 2 months earlier that the guilty parties were dismissed, and now you can see the value of these promises yourself. The only measure taken was a demotion. According to lawyer Nikolai, the dismissal was a demand from the public. The name of Oksana Makar subsequently became synonymous with describing several similar cases. An expression even emerged, the Oksana Makar syndrome, to describe cases of assault and subsequent burning. In the summer of 2013, in the same Nikolaev Oblast, a crime was committed that resembled Oksana's tragedy and also sparked protests throughout Ukraine. The crime occurred in Radivka, where 2 police officers kidnapped, assaulted, and attempted to kill a young woman. All local authorities covered up their actions. If you're interested, let me know. and I'll tell you about this story.